Let me tell you a little bit about this car. So it's a 2001 Integra GSR. Of course, it's got the Japanese conversion front. This was completely repainted by Superior Auto Body. I'm going to link the videos. We did a build series on this. I'm going to put those in the description just so you can kind of go through those. It's quite a long sequence of videos. But when we did the full paint, we did paint inside and out. The car was completely stripped. These headlights are brand spanking new. I bought these back in 2003 when you could still buy them, and kept them in a box ever since. It was obviously a planned build. Somewhere in the future I was going to use them, and then this kind of came together. This is the car, but as you see, these are absolutely beautiful. This really makes the car. So when we did the Japanese front end the first time, everything was done, cleaned, repainted properly, but when we did it again the second time, everything kind of went to the next step, right down to the new Honda rubber trim between the spoiler and the bumper. Really finishes that off. So, you know, this is probably one of the most expensive colors. It was an expensive paint job, not just in materials, but everything that went along with it. Whenever you paint something like this, right down to seals, this stuff starts getting expensive. All the little things add up. For instance, the back quarters, these again kind of rare, but they were only available with the rubber seal. So to buy the rear glass, you buy the rubber seal. They're about $450. This is still available, the belt molding. There is a rubber strip that goes behind here that's not on it right now because there was only 2 left, and I have them. They're in the back seat right there. I never put these on. Something about being the last 2 available. Once the window goes down, it sits behind there and covers up those screws. It's basically a black rubber piece with a double side tape. So I have a pair of those never installed. So right down to the rubbers, there is quite a few parts to this rubber seal on the door. And again, this is expensive. I think there's 3 parts to this. There's this seal here, and there's 2 parts to the top. All of this was done inside and out. The tracks for the windows. I mean, listen to this. Listen to the door close. It closes like a brand new car. I don't remember the last time I heard an Integra having a door close like that, but it makes such the difference. You don't have that window rattle. Makes the car feel a whole lot nicer. And again, there's a lot of description, a lot of details in those build videos, so check those out for more information if it's something you really want to get kind of in depth with. So, of course, the car was painted inside now. Everything was completely stripped. New glass, new windshield. The only thing that didn't get replaced was the back glass because it's not available. But again, it adds up. So this is a B18C. It was sleeved, or the sleeve reinforcement by CSS, that cylinder support system. Check those guys out. We then built the engine with forged pistons and rods, all new bearings, all new seals. This is a limited slip transmission. We did, of course, new oil pump, timing belt, water pump, all the bolts, all the seals, top to bottom. Cylinder head we completely rebuilt using Ferrer valve train, valves, springs, retainers. It has Type R cams in here. This is kind of an OE build. It's not a high horsepower. We kind of built the engine with the ability to make power, but this isn't making a ton of power. It's making about 350 horsepower, somewhere around there. It's got the ability to make more with a bigger turbo, bigger manifold, that kind of thing. So this, we tried to follow a theme. As you see, the color here, the valve cover is the same color as the wheels. It's kind of got the red, the black, the silver, and the valve cover color right here. Skunk 2 intake manifold, 70mm throttle body. This is a Boost Lab 57mm turbo, Inline Pro stainless cast exhaust manifold. Again, this is for longevity and reliability. It's not for max horsepower. With a tube manifold, there's some more power to be made just right there, and then obviously a little bit bigger turbo. It wouldn't be hard to make 500 wheel on this combination, just changing those components. But we're going for the OE Plus. So, like I said, we built the engine. The transmission is a factory-built LSD. It has the lightweight flywheel, Clutch Masters, FX300 clutch, Gator axles. Little tidbit of information right here. These brackets are what I built for my Integra Type R back in 2004. This was just some custom built brackets and the bracket down there on the front of the transmission is that bracket too. Built that in 2004 when I sold the Type R. I kept those because they were kind of in a special bracket that I made. I don't want it to keep. They're on this car right here. Any bolts that we could were changed to Allen. I'm not a big fan of the colored bolts and the colored washers. It's just not really my thing. I like the factory, kind of factory plus look. So any bolt that we could is changed to Allen, right down to the ones on the transmission, which were the hardest ones to find. These are the Type R right here. This is a billet aluminum anodized piece that we had made back in the day. It's got our embroidered name on there. It's not embroidered, it's CNC, sorry. Next thing is the titanium charge pipes. The whole charge pipe system is titanium. The charge pipe from the turbo to the intercooler to the throttle body, and of course the intake tube right there. 100% titanium, and it's got the pie cut just for the more flashy, more custom look. We did a breather can that is designed to breathe from here with a tube and a filter so you don't get fumes in the engine bay. It self-drains back into the engine. That's this guy right here. You see the two big fittings coming from the back of the block. There is a fit-in down there. That's the drain going back into the block. And then the one over here is the air breather. It goes down to a filter so you don't get that oily smell in the cabin. So all the mounts were replaced with hard race. They're kind of like an OE mount, about 25% stiffer. And again, stiffen the engine, stop a lot of that movement, but it's not going to vibrate your teeth and make it terrible. Fuel system is a fairly stock fuel system, GSS 342 in the tank, Skunk 2 composite rail. It has AN return system, ID 1050 CC injectors, and of course it has the external pressure regulator right here. Fuel system is good for about 550 horsepower. Engine is good for about 500 to 600. Turbo isn't going to make much more than 400 because it's very small and a condensed setup. Coil radiator, spall fan on this side, spall pusher fan on this side. I wanted to make sure the air conditioning would work properly. I don't want any overheating issues, don't want the air conditioning turning off. All those kind of little things get annoying pretty quick. Clutch master cylinder, as you see, it's an S2000 Nissan clutch master cylinder. We just built a spacer. It just kind of cleans this up. It's not too crazy, not too custom. Coming around to the side, you see right here, this is the reservoir for the radiator. It comes down here. You see this aluminum hose that comes in. That's what that does, goes to the bottom of here. This is how you fill the reservoir right here. Kind of stiff little piece right here. But this is where you will put the water in there. So I'll take it to the inside of the car real quick, then I'll tell you a little bit more about the extra little things that we did. And again, it's a lot of those little fine details that really add up. Any of you guys that's built a car like this, you know how quick money runs away with you, and it spends very easy. It really does. The more you get into it, for instance, paint job alone, over $10,000. I know that's crazy, but that's including seals, rubbers, all the extra little things. You know, this rubber down here. So on the interior, we basically have the Integra Type R front and back seats, door panels, then going down to the center console right here. Same thing, Integra Type R from the US Type R, of course. Gauge cluster is from the UK Type R. It is in miles, but as you see, it has yellow needles, and it goes up to 170 miles an hour. Red line's at 85. It's one of those nice touches. Kind of hard to find, but I really like those. The red stitching, I've talked about it. Red Sparco wheel with the red stripe. It kind of contrasts the red stitching in the seats and the center shift boot. And of course, one of my favorites, red seat belts all the way around, front and back. These were done by seatbeltplanet.com. These are beautiful. Let me get out of the car. I'll show you that a little bit better. And it's almost the dead ringer red for the car. Look at that. It contrasts it nicely, and again goes with the red stitching. Type R rear seats. And again, these are the pieces for the windows. So going to the back, that's the US Type R wing, And again, I like it. I think it really goes well with the Japanese front. This is the UK Honda emblem. I actually picked that up on a trip to England. Same as this right here. These are just finished in black. These have the satin black look. So titanium, it has a full titanium exhaust. Now this is a 3-inch, and it has the double muffler in the back. It's close to like a double pass, and it goes all the way up to an inline resonator, to a stainless 300 cell catalytic converter, and it goes into the downpipe. OBD1 ECU S300. So wheels, let me tell you about these wheels. This is my favorite wheel for the Integra. This is the Japanese 16-inch Integra Type R wheel. Same as the brakes, 5-lug brakes front and back. We did all new bushings, all new brakes, new pads, new rotors. These are the StopTech rotors. Brand new stainless lines for the brakes. They're by Goodrich. Again, this is kind of our favorite brake package. The brakes are insane on this car. It feels so much noticeable just tapping the brakes. Very sensitive, but very little brake fade. I know these need to be changed. These need to be orientated to match the valve stem. I know that. Now, again, with a different turbo system, the car would easily do 500 horsepower, but that was not the plan. It was to build an OE car that you could drive. It was nice. It was a show car. It was a fun car. It was a sports car without being too outlandish and too noisy. You can see how nice this thing is. So I'm going to take it on the side road here. Get a couple of sound clips just running up and down the street so you can hear it. It's got a nice sounding exhaust, but it's not obnoxious. And the car rides beautiful. So I'm also going to put a link in here. Our friend from Raitis Rides, Joe, did a review on this car. He drove it. He had fun with it. He's a good guy. He gets to drive almost everything. So it's really, really cool to see somebody else's point of view on something like this. He really enjoyed it. So the windshield wipers are off the car, and it's mainly for looks, just because I like the way it looks without them. This kind of car isn't going to get driven in the rain that much. They're in the trunk, so they can be popped on. That was something I used to do back in the day on the Integra Type R that I owned. I had a yellow Integra Type R. I'll put a link to that too. It was on the cover of Turbo magazine. It was just for the look. If you look at that right there, it's got a nice clean look. You don't see the wiper sitting up in the windshield. I know it's a little bit ricey. I just like that way it looks. And again, I kind of like having the slightly dark against the red. I didn't really want window tint. I kind of like that Japanese JDM look. And you can also see on the inside, you can see how nice the seat belts show, the seats. Look at that. So let's go ahead and take this for a little drive. Then I'll talk a little bit more about it. I'll tell you what the plans are with this car. Are you ready? So a nice thing is having plenty of cooling system is you can run it up and down the street heavy with the air conditioning on, and it doesn't have an issue. Again, always trying to overbuild things. We want to have more capacity in the engine and the cooling system than we're using. It's always better to overbuild and underuse. So let me get a sound clip of the exhaust real quick. Again, it kind of has a burble. Oh, it's idling. It's not too loud. So let me go ahead and shut this off. Like always, now the car is finished, we've enjoyed the build, and I've realized over the last 25 plus years of doing this, it's kind of the build I enjoy more than the finished product. Once a car is done, I kind of ask myself, what am I going to do with it? I don't get a lot of time to myself to drive around. I don't go to car shows like I used to. My only getaway is to kind of go to the track. So what am I getting at? Well, this car is for sale, guys. If you're interested in this, again, it's a pretty extensive build. It's not a race car. It's not a show car. It's kind of somewhere in between. It's a fun OEM plus car. It's got a lot of nice parts on it. Everything is done right. It can be driven. And here's the other option. I might even consider piecing this car out. As much as I don't really like to, everyone's vision for this is different than mine. Somebody might want this shell and want to put, you know, an all-motor K-Series in it, which we actually thought about doing that, putting a Type R all-motor build together. But again, I'd rather just start with a fresh, clean slate, build something else, do something different. So if you're interested in this, if I sell the rolling chassis without the engine and drivetrain and the titanium parts, obviously we can talk about it. Shoot me an offer. If it's a silly offer, you might not get a response. But if it's something reasonable, if you know anything about building a car, if you know what is into this, I mean, to give you an idea, somebody offered me $2,500 for the two headlights on the front just because they're brand new. Tail lights in the back were brand new. Seals were brand new. Seat belts, brakes, wheels, tires, suspension, tie bars. I mean, these are discontinued now. These are beautiful. Look at that. So it takes a lot to build a car. It gets pretty expensive. And again, if it's something you've done, you know what I'm talking about. Shoot me an offer. You know how to get a hold of me. But for right now, I'll go ahead and let this video play out with some shots from the LHT Integra. Thanks for watching, guys. See you in the next video. Don't forget, support the channel, hit the store, subscribe, hit the like, and we'll see you on the next video.